Okay, this video is just carrying on from the last one that I was making about Afghanistan, why I think the whole thing will turn out to be a failure. I ended by starting to talk about Australia's national interests. I understand the whole arguments. Now, if you want to go back to the beginning of when the war started, shortly after 9/11, the mission was to get bin Laden, which was a just mission, to get rid of the Taliban government who was harbouring Al-Qaeda. I agreed with both of those goals at the time. Even like bin Laden wasn't the mastermind, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed was behind 9/11, but he was the head of Al-Qaeda. He was the group behind 9/11. He had to go. That's fair enough. I probably would have, even if I was John Howard at the time, would have said, yeah, all right, George, we'll help you get rid of bin Laden. And they went in there, they got rid of the Taliban in a matter of 2 weeks or something. This is without our help. They just bombed them back to the Stone Age. And that was all very well. And the mission went to eliminating the Taliban, which is where our forces and the coalition came into it, where after the initial bombings and getting rid of the Taliban out of Kabul, that's when the coalition came into it. And of course they let bin Laden go through their incompetent handling of the initial operations. They didn't have enough people there on the ground. The CIA and special forces, initially when they were going after bin Laden, they only had about 100 guys in the country. They were basically bribing the warlords and certain people connected with the Taliban and Al-Qaeda to come to their side, and they used the Northern Alliance to try go after bin Laden. He escaped over to the Pakistani border, and a few years later, in 2003, they diverted all military resources, well, not all, a lot of it, the majority of it, to Iraq. Now, if I was the Prime Minister, I would have said at that point, all right, that's enough, George. You owed it to the victims of 9/11 to go after bin Laden and Al-Qaeda. You obviously have different priorities. There's more oil in Iraq. I get what's going on here, so I know we're good mates and all that, but you just fucked up, George, so we're pulling out all support. That didn't happen. Now, the justifications for staying in Afghanistan then turned to nation building, which is, I guess it's a just cause, and it's a noble cause because women were getting abused by the Taliban government, girls weren't being educated, women were being forced to wear burqas, they were using the Quran as a justification for all the horrendous crimes that they were committing on their own people. So that became the argument for staying there, that we have to make sure the Taliban doesn't come back, because it's just such a tragedy to have these people being treated like this in that country. I understand and appreciate that argument, and I guess for a time it was worth giving it a go. But after at least the 5-year mark, I think that was when it became pretty apparent that it wasn't as easy as just saying it or planning to do so. Now, the other national interest is well, Australia's national interest is the whole terrorism issue of preventing Al Qaeda from having a safe haven in Afghanistan and preventing, I don't know, I guess the theory is that you don't let them have the safe haven in Afghanistan so they can't plan and plot and therefore carry out further terrorist attacks. I think that's a fallacious argument because you don't need to be in Afghanistan under the Taliban government to be able to plan and carry out a terrorist attack. We saw that in London, we saw that in Madrid, we saw that in Bali. Al-Qaeda is a franchised global sort of network. It's not as sophisticated as the politicians try to make it out to be, but it is an expanding idea. So the argument was from our politicians that it's in Australia's best interest to prevent Afghanistan from becoming a safe haven for these sort of people. Now, you don't need an actual, like I said, I was getting onto this point, but I sort of went off topic. You don't need an actual country in order to plan a terrorist attack. All you need is a few young blokes who are angry, who are disgruntled or whatever, upset with society. They need to be already fanatical about the Quran and Islam. And you just need to say, all right, Muhammad, this is what we're going to do. We're going to get these young blokes. We're going to brainwash them a bit. We're going to say that you're going to go to paradise. You're going to have 32 virgins on demand after you explode yourself into 1,000 pieces along with all the people around you. That's how you plan a terrorist attack. It takes not a lot of money. You need one bloke that knows how to build a bomb or a suicide device or some sort of IED. That's all you need. So just preventing Afghanistan from becoming a safe haven where they can have these terrorist camps. And let's face it, all they do in these terrorist camps, we've all seen the videos where they're climbing monkey bars, they're shooting AK-47s into the air and target practice and doing somersaults and looking all very scary. That's sort of, they've had this one video that they've shown, the media shows over and over again when they're trying to make Al-Qaeda look like they're some sort of organized, scary organization. Well, they're not. So denying them that safe haven in Afghanistan, in my opinion, doesn't do a lot to protect Australian shores from becoming a terrorist target. And to be honest, actually engaging in this war on terror, which is just a simplistic, ludicrous, oversimplified idea of a complex issue, doesn't really do much for protecting our shores, for the reasons that I've pointed out, that you can plan a terrorist attack from anywhere in the world, and these whole training camps are really just a lot of propaganda bullshit. Now, I think that the number one line that people always use in Australia now is that, oh, we need to stay there because we need to, how can you say that it's a waste? Because look at these girls, they're being educated. Yes, they are being educated, that's all very well, but like I already said in the last video, what's the point of it when as soon as we leave, the Taliban's going to come back in anyway, because the Afghan army will be so inept that they won't stand a chance against the Taliban. Because even the coalition, America, 10 years, we couldn't beat them. So it's a nice argument, but it's pretty easy to counter because yes, we're doing a good thing at the moment, but in 10, 20 years, these girls aren't going to be educated. And if they are, if I'm wrong, it's going to be because the Afghan people miraculously somehow rose up together, the majority of Afghans, not just the ones that were being trained by Western forces, but the actual Afghan people as a whole rose up and out extremism. Now, I think that's probably not going to happen. I hope I'm wrong, but in the long run, I think it's all going to be a waste, and that's very sad. That's it.